Hey,
Owen.
Jeff.
How are you?
Good. How's it going?
It's going good, I guess. Good.
I literally just walked in the door.
Good for you. You're here. You turned on the meeting.
Yeah. How weren't you on vacation?
Yeah, school break.
Nice.
It was some time off. It was hard. It wasn't really a true vacation, but
Yeah. Yeah.
something, little something. That's fine. How are you
Nice.
doing?
Pretty good. I walked I got together with Sam Dibble yesterday and we walked around that whole like Nonotuck adjacent parcel
Yeah.
through kind of the dredge fields and all the way back, came back through Whitebrook. So there's a lot of potential back there for that project.
Yeah.
So we should, I'd love oh, here's some other people. I'd love to talk to you more about that. Here's some more people coming in.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello.
Gardner's is Bert from the school committee. Yes.
Okay.
Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, Bert.
How you doing, Owen?
Good, good. How are you?
Good.
Hey, Erica.
Hello.
Yeah,
Jeff, are you going to be sharing a screen at all?
I certainly could. I have the brief cover letter and the draft easement and the map. So that's about what I'm prepared to share.
Okay, let me
If
make
that
you a
makes sense, I
co-host.
can do that.
Yeah, I'll make you a co-host. Erica, I'll make you a co-host too in case you like need to let someone in or something like that.
Okay.
I contacted Verizon about those two poles. Jeff, you don't really have anything to do with that, do you?
No.
Okay. So we'll try to get. Why don't we get through the gas easement first, and then we can talk about the pole locations.
All right. And I'm sure, not to put Bert on the spot, but I'm sure Bert has some peripheral knowledge of the pole too, because it's all about it's in the same vicinity.
Yeah,
Yep.
I might. I'm not super well versed on the poll, but David from Colliers is going to be on. He's their on-site clerk day to day, so he should. If I don't know it, he should hopefully be able to fill in any blanks.
Yeah, I think that's the one, the corner of South. Oh, Dave Boucher? Is that?
Yeah.
Bert, what is your last name? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. Just for the minutes.
Yep. Gardner, Gardner.
Okay.
We have the Verizon
Thank
rep
you.
here. Okay. So we got about one more minute. And I'm only on a single screen, so you'll have to forgive me if I have to, I may have to pause to move around between screens and such. Okay, we're recording.
Got one more I'll admit here.
Oh, thank you. So are you on top of that, Erica?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're almost ready to go. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Easthampton City Council Property Committee meeting. It is Monday, May 3rd at 5:30 p.m. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and Governor Baker's order, we are meeting remotely via Zoom on a recorded meeting. Members of the committee present are myself, and I see Councillor Flood, and I believe that our other member, Councillor Kwidzinski, is not going to be present. Councilor Flood, I think you sent some minutes over.
Yes, I would make a motion to approve the minutes from March 1st. That was our last meeting, March 1st, 2021.
All right, I did review those. I'll second that. I'll take a vote. Councilor Flood,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. So minutes are approved 2-0. At this time, we have 3 items on our agenda today. 2 are poll location, discussion of poll locations. I see the Verizon rep is here, and a discussion of an easement for Eversource Gas to the Maple School project. Are there any members of the public here tonight that would like to speak on any item not on the agenda that I just listed? You can either raise your hand on video or raise your hand using the raise hand function on Zoom. Okay.
I don't see any.
Seeing none, we'll move forward with the gas easement first. I see that we have a couple people here who are involved with the school project, so I've had a chance to review this. We did kind of, in a kind of tangential aspect, discuss this previously with, I believe, electrical easements to the new school. I have a couple questions, but I'll wait. I think, Councilor Flood, if you don't have any opening comments, I was going to turn this over to the planner and to other members who are involved with the school project, if that's okay with you.
That's fine with me. I have no opening comments or questions at this time.
Okay, great. So Planner Bag, do you mind, or who do you think is the most appropriate to present this item?
I'll probably defer to Mr. Boucher and Bert Gardner, who are much more involved in the day-to-day functions of the school construction. But what we're doing is we're seeking, the approval of easements to Eversource Gas to run the utility from Park Street down the entrance road to the new school. As we are all learning together in the past couple of years, we've been doing more and more easements, but basically the mayor is the city official who signs off on easements, and in order to do that, city council is required to authorize the mayor to do that. So we've been doing this more and more, and you're correct that the council did give the mayor the authority to approve an Eversource electrical easement. So it was a while back, and then through a course of interesting occurrences, now Eversource is gas as well, and so they took over for Columbia Gas. So I'm really just trying to facilitate it, but Bert and is it Dan?
David.
David, thank you. Have much more of the day-to-day information, which probably all your other questions would be answered by them. The one thing I will say is that, and we can clarify this, but in the packet, there was actual easement language prepared by Eversource, which is really good, and it's more than we've gotten to council before in some cases. But I think what we want to try to do is still give a little bit of wiggle room. We're not quite sure that we want to execute that exact language, but we want to give the mayor the authority to continue negotiating and executing. But I think at this point, it's pretty well set, so that I wouldn't expect a lot of deviation. But probably for the council meeting on Wednesday, we would want sort of a motion to allow the mayor to execute the easement generally, like based on that language, just in case there's some minor changes that still need to occur. So I think with that, maybe I'll hand it over to Bert or Dave, whoever wants to kind of chime in and give more information.
Okay, and actually, before I have a quick question with that probably any one of you can answer, just to make sure I either didn't maybe misunderstood. So looking at that easement map, there's the parcel there adjacent to the Elizabeth Tiffin, to the 198 Park Street parcel. Was that the parcel that we acquired in an exchange with Williston? Is that City of Easthampton, or is that still, or my misunderstanding who possesses that 198 Park Street parcel?
So the city, I think, did a transfer for a portion of that 198 parcel, and it's basically that little teardrop that's between the where the entrance to White Brook comes up to Park Street. The transfer of land really follows the edge of the sidewalk right there, and then it's Williston's from the curb, or from the top of the slope, basically the top of the embankment on that, and then into the property of 198 is still all Williston's. We just did the transfer for what we needed for the roundabout work itself, where the city did that transfer for just that portion of that plot.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that information. So I guess, Bert, if you'd like to kind of take it away from here and let us know more about this request.
Yeah, I think that and honestly, this is the first project that I've had a lot of involvement with, the easements that contractors need to get utilities to building. But that's basically what it comes down to, is that you know, they're off the public way, so they need permission or an easement to get their utilities to the school. So we initially had some survey work done for that electrical easement, just to get the meets and bounds and everything. And then the utilities kind of take it from there, and they draft up the language for what they believe they need as far as, and that's really what the process is. It's just to establish that legal document so that they've got access to and from the building to do their work. I think that we encourage Jeff to kind of his prelude there about not having it specifically, you know, word for word to what the utility company's language is, because we never know what we're going to find as we're coming into the site. If there's little things, if we run into a conflict and we have to the left or right a couple feet, we want the flexibility to be able to do that without having to come back through this whole process again, to make that adjustment. So I think, you know, essentially what we're asking for is on that easement map, the hatched area there. That's what we want to be able to allow Eversource access to work on their utility lines coming in and out of the building. And it's necessary because, you know, we're no longer going to run the same utilities that are original to the existing buildings. We want to take new utilities from the street down there. And even within the site, if we were using the existing, there'd be some portion where we've got to take it off the current route to White Brook and divert it over to the new building. I don't know if you've got anything, David, to add.
No, I don't think so. I think you've said everything that we need to do.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, this is probably, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years. It's probably one of the first projects that I've had to get involved with the easement portion of it. And you know, something I've kind of asked our civil engineers, is there something we did different in the specifications this time? But a lot of it might just be public bidding is very specific about being able to quantify the work that contractors are pricing. So we did specifically, someone said that they weren't able to get utility fees from the utility company. So we weren't able to kind of give that whole responsibility on this project because they have to pay $1,000 just to get into their system and a purchase order for them to agree to do engineering on it. And you can't really ask everybody bidding the job to kind of put that money forward to you know, try to determine what the ultimate end cost of the utilities are going to be. So the city agreed early on to kind of, okay, we'll just be billed directly for this portion. The contractor can coordinate it, but you know, it's going to ultimately come through us and we'll be billed directly. And I think that's why on this project we're seeing our involvement in it.
Councilor Flood, do you have any questions?
No, I think you helped clarify that the one question I had, which was also in regards to just that parcel there. I was confused by that. But I don't see any other reason why. I mean, it seems pretty necessary to me in order to keep this moving forward.
Yeah, the easement language a quick run through. I mean, it seems reasonable. I guess I'll address this to everyone involved with the project. Are there specific kind of language concepts that you're looking for? Because I understand what you're saying. The mayor who's going to be executing the ultimate agreement should have some flexibility, or may ultimately get to decide on the final language with Eversource and our attorney. But are there certain things you're looking for within that language that we might want to, that she might want to put in there?
No, I'd have to kind of go back. I read it when it first came through as well, but I'd have to go back and kind of look to see if I could make any recommendations as far as that. But I think just in general, that the language as it's written is good. We just want some flexibility, understanding that construction's not a perfect science really. And there's always hidden, subsurface conditions. There could be any number of things that would cause. We don't want so much flexibility that they can say, even jump to the other side of the road, or do anything that's completely a difference from what was presented in the language. But I think that just language that, as long as they're following the general intent, to bring power from Park Street to the building in the most efficient route possible, that's probably what we want to make sure is covered. Understanding that they might have to shift a couple feet one way or the other to make it actually work once they start digging up the grade to start laying the new utility.
Yeah, the language is pretty detailed in its nature.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just in terms of the path and the depth and what can and can't overlie it.
Right.
Right.
One of my questions then, since we clarified that parcel at 198 Park, there's that part of the easement that just grazes that corner, and this is not my specialty. So are there any issues there in terms of how exact that science or the survey needs to be in terms of determining that that is not actually, in fact, on that 198 Park Street parcel? Because in that case, do we have to talk to Williston? I mean, as you can see, I mean, I'm looking at the scale here, but we're talking about, so I'm guessing these smaller blocks here with the scale, then if they're 40 feet. So we're talking about literally feet here, maybe even less than a few feet in that corner of the 198 Park parcel.
Mm-hmm.
Does Williston need to be involved at all? I mean, how is it theoretical that we could actually intrude on that parcel based on, or how exact is the survey there?
I think that in theory, anything could happen, right? But I don't think that there's a real high risk of actually intruding on Williston's land there. For one thing, that the dash line that's just kind of skirting past that corner there, almost kissing it really. That's the edge of the easement. They won't be digging there. That's not where the trench will be. So that's, if that's a 20-foot wide easement, say, they just include that width so they've got room to work on either side. I suspect all the work will happen from the roadside, and there really, I don't think is any real high risk of, getting out there and finding that the original gas line was cutting that corner, for instance. That might be something, and then we would probably have to go back to Williston. But I don't think there's a high likelihood of that at all.
Councilor Flood, do you have any other follow-up questions?
No, I do not.
Let me just take a look at the language here quickly. And Planner Bag, you've reviewed this. Do you have any concerns or anything to add?
No, I mean, getting the language and seeing there's a lot of stuff in there, but usually it's pretty boilerplate in terms of what the utilities are asking for and what the contractors are seeing. So I don't have any concerns. It's just a little bit more evolved than what we've been able, like, we've provided what we had, which is more than we have in the past. But I think the flexibility is just because if we say, like on Wednesday, that city council votes to approve that exact language and then there are tweaks, then technically we'd probably have to send it back. And that's the thing we're just hoping to avoid. So I think it's good for the council to see what the actual language gets looking like. And I think if this were not, one of the single largest construction projects that's happening in Easthampton's probably happened in a long time, we'd probably give it a little bit more time to make sure all the I's and T's are dotted. But the project does not have the luxury of time. So, giving that authorization to the mayor is just really important because they're, I don't know what the timeline is, but I'm sure they're pretty much ready to have the authority to start to do that work.
So the language on Wednesday, oh, I'm sorry, Eric, Councilor Flood, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest, like the notes I took earlier. I mean, can we use vague language just to allow the flexibility of the mayor to negotiate? So the notes I made were to make a motion to allow the mayor to execute the easement as generally laid out by the document submitted to the city council by Eversource. I mean, that gives her the flexibility to tweak whatever needs to, but identifying that we've all reviewed it, we understand the challenges, and that we're not going to sit there looking over her shoulder for every foot that needs to be moved in one way or another. I mean, would that satisfy?
From my experience so far, that would totally satisfy it. I think it does what Bert says. It gives, this is the idea and this is the intent. And I think within that, the general framework of that, I think that'd be great.
I guess we could add the language with as much of the current intent as possible or something in there. Just like he said, we're not going to let her jump to the other side of the street without a re-review, but as long as we're within these guardrails, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
That was my question as well, Councilor Flood. What will the motion be on Wednesday? And I think it's going to be something like that to motion to allow the mayor to enter into an easement agreement with Eversource based on the we'll have to figure out how to fashion that, what it's going to sound like within the intention of the language provided on the easement agreement or something of that sort. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Generally in accordance, that's kind of like those, it's pretty clear but vague. It's kind of, we're going for clarity but vagueness. So, generally in accordance with the plan and the language. I mean, I think that does it. I don't think it needs much more than that.
And if I remember correctly, this easement is the electrical easement on this map would be to the right of this, correct? It kind of follows. If this is, I'm trying to look at direction here. So it would be, it's to the south of this easement, correct? The electrical easement. Do you remember, Jeff or Bert?
Don't remember. I almost would have guessed the other way around, but I don't remember offhand without looking.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, it's that area is it's a utility corridor right now. So they're going to be they might even overlap. I mean, obviously the utilities themselves are not going to overlap, but the easements might. But there's not a lot of room at the end of the day. There's not a lot of room to fit all the utilities going down there. So it's somewhere in that vicinity.
That's fine. I don't have any further concerns. Councilor Flood?
No further concerns.
Okay, then I will take a motion to make a recommendation to the city council to recommend allowing the mayor to enter into an easement agreement with Eversource for this natural gas utility.
So moved.
And I'll second it. There's only two of us. I'll take a vote. Councillor Flood.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. So motion passes 2-0. We'll make that recommendation on Wednesday.
And councilors,
Alright.
just a quick question. What and for Bert or Dave, I mean, what would be your expectation for attendance at the meeting for this?
Time-wise?
Or like who would you prefer to have participating in the meeting?
Right. I mean, whoever might have the most information.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the three of you probably know more than I do in terms of who's going to be best at answering the most questions on this. My understanding is this isn't a public hearing. It's just would be during the property discussion, which could be later on. And so I can't anticipate when that might be. That might be probably closer to like 7:30. But it probably would be helpful to have somebody there who could answer questions about this. So I would leave that up to you. I think you all know more about who possesses that information.
Bert or Dave, are either of you available on Wednesday evening to, I would do it, but last time there was like one question that, got asked and I don't have the day-to-day knowledge.
Yeah, I'm sure. And
Yeah.
I've talked to Adam
Yes.
too from Colliers, and he said that he's willing. He had a conflict tonight, but I'm sure
Colliers.
between us, we'll have attendance there to help field any questions.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Just need the link. That's all.
Yeah, Jeff, you?
Yep, I can do that. That's fine. Yep.
Thank you so much. Anything else on this topic that you want to add before we move on? Okay. So I think the next item then, we have 2 poll locations. I think one of them is probably pertinent to the school. So let me get up to that one and read that. Okay, so we have two poll locations to discuss today at our meeting, and the first one, which I think is potentially pertinent to this project, is the request to relocate one jointly owned pole T.54/E.54 to a point on the easterly side of Park Street, approximately 135 feet southerly from the center line of South Street. And this is for the city construction project to allow for distribution intelligence and telecommunications with the transfer of high and low voltage electric current. Actually, does someone have, I could share my screen if you'd like.
Do you need assistance in sharing the map?
That would be great.
I can do that. I'm on a dual screen here. Let me go ahead.
Okay. And so Bert and David, am I correct that this is relevant to, thank you.
Yeah.
So we have a rep from Eversource, from Verizon here. I'm sorry, Mr. Bilodeau. And Bert or David, is this something this is important for the school project as well?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
really for the construction of the roundabout, to facilitate the construction of the roundabout. That pole needs to be relocated. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding the key here, because I stared at this a few times, but on the map here, it's pointing at the where it's pointing. Where the pole that's pointing to, is that where it's to be relocated to?
I think that's the existing location, but let's,
Yeah,
I mean, that's the way I'm reading it, but then when you look at the legend,
the legend, right?
it's the opposite. So I was trying to decipher that. Oh, and
Yeah, sorry, Chair Zara, I see Don Voner has his hand raised. I don't know if you can see that.
yeah, I just
Maybe
noticed
he
as
has
well.
an answer.
Yes, is it Voner or Vonner?
Vonner, either's fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, yes, I'm the other Verizon rep that's online.
Oh, great.
I'm the one that could speak to this project where I believe Mr. Bilodeau is going to speak to the other pole.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for attending. Go ahead.
Sure. So that teardrop section that you were speaking of earlier, the pole at the bottom is the existing pole. It's going to move over to the right, which would be east, and then slightly to the north to get it out of the existing sidewalk area where it is right now and push it up to the outer edge of the roundabout. So it's to get it out of the way so that you can continue the work for the roundabout.
So on the map where it says existing pole to be relocated, that's pointing at, that's actually where it's going to be moved to. Is that correct?
Let
Can you
me,
see the screen?
yeah, I'm just gonna try and make it bigger here.
I mean, that looks to be east and north from what you were describing.
Yeah, where it's the existing pole to be relocated. That's changed from how I designed it, but it's essentially the same thing. To be relocated to is probably what it should say.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to clarify that.
yeah, the northeast area, the black X, not the crossed out one. The crossed out one is the existing one.
Okay, and this is just simply, and this is an existing pole that's already providing power, communications, etc. And that it's in the way of the roundabout project.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Bert or David, any comments about this?
no,
No, I think it's one of those things. I think they want to get going on the roundabout work this month, and it's just something that they've got to
Yeah.
make sure they get these poles out of the way so that they can keep moving forward. So,
Councilor Flood, questions?
No, that's pretty clear to me. That just clarifying that is where the pole is moving. That's all I needed. It's again, it's pretty obvious. It's in the way, and we want to keep moving forward. So I don't see any issues with sight line, or just this looks like an improvement to me. So
Those are my thoughts too, and especially based on the nature of the way a roundabout works. Line of sight's not as important because you're not making a turn per se, and you'd be looking to the left, not to the right, because of the flow of traffic. So I don't have any specific concerns. Is there anything either Mr. Vonner? I'm sorry, is it Vonner or Voner?
It's Vonner.
Thank you.
No worries.
Or Bert or David, are there is there anything else in particular about this relocation that is unique to this, or it's just literally picking up the pole and moving it to get out of the way?
yeah, you know, Mr. Vonner might say it's not quite that easy, but yeah, that's basically all
no,
it is.
that's all. Yeah.
It's pretty routine, I think. So.
Okay, and Mr. Vonner, I didn't mean to diminish the.
No worries. Don't worry about it.
I do it all the time. That's how I know. Just because you can draw it doesn't mean it's easy for us to do it.
Right. I totally understand. I appreciate it. Okay, Councilor Flood, any other questions?
no other questions. I would make a motion to make this recommendation to move forward with the relocation of the pole. Yeah.
And I'll second that, but quickly, just a question before we vote. as always, Mr. Vonner, we always just double check that these poles are are placed with opportunities for expansion. If the city's in the discussion of potential municipal broadband, or if we wanted to bring other wires to those poles, is that typical with these general agreements?
Yeah, you could certainly build off that pole, and given what you're doing there, I would imagine that that would be the case, and it would be set up to do that.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second, and any other discussion, Councillor Flood?
No.
Okay, then I will take a vote. Councillor Flood?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion passes 2-0, approving to recommend moving pole T54/E54 to this new location. We will make that recommendation at the public hearing at 6:15 on Wednesday. Okay, well, this is moving faster than I imagined. So moving on, we have the second poll and our third agenda item and our last agenda item. And let me find that. This is also a request for a poll on Main Street. Oh, you got it?
I'm going to pull up the new map. I
Okay.
just got to scroll through. I don't want to give everybody motion sickness there. Let's see. And that would be here. And you see that one?
Yes, great. And let me read this. I'll pull up the description on my side, and then it's almost time for Mr. Bilodeau's big debut. Give me 1 second. So this is a request for locating I believe this is a new pole on Main Street to place one jointly owned pole number T45.5/E55M on the southeasterly side of Main Street at a point approximately 185 feet northeasterly from the center line of South Street. And this is for the purpose of one jointly owned pole on Main Street to provide mid-span support to the existing pole line to provide for the distribution of intelligence and telecommunications and for the transmission of high and low voltage electric current. So my understanding of this is that this is basically, there's already 2 poles there, and we're looking just to, or there's another pole there. The new pole is there to just provide better support for the cables coming off of that. So Mr. Bilodeau, I think it'd be your turn.
Yes, good evening. Russ Bilodeau representing Verizon New England. This is actually an Eversource-driven request. Verizon being the maintaining party on this part of town, we're obliged to set this pole as we are 50% owners. Eversource is looking for more support for their facilities out there, and they're also looking to place a new piece of equipment to support their circuitry out there. That's basically all the information I have. Poles running up and down Main Street. This is going to sit in between existing pole 45 and 46, which is to the northeast. That's basically it.
Councilor Flood, any questions?
I mean, my only question is, does this vary in any format than the current pole? Will it be the same height as what we see? I mean, basically, there's just going to be an extra pole. It's not anything out of the ordinary in terms of this equipment that's being placed on it.
That's correct. No, it's just nothing extra out of the ordinary, like you're saying. It's placed to be like for like as the poles, surrounding poles around it, so it won't stick out. It's just to add their kind of standard equipment. I'm not sure if they're upgrading some circuits or something like that. I'm not privy to that information. But they need this pole for some kind of capacitor bank.
Okay.
That was my question. So I, without knowing exactly what they're using it for, typically when you place a new pole like this, it's for the addition of additional equipment.
Correct. That's exactly what it is. Like I said, I'm not privy to the electric company's project, what they're exactly doing with the overall project, but I just know that this is for equipment placement, like you're saying, aerial equipment placement. Nothing going in the underground to any of these surrounding properties, just to support their existing circuitry.
So when they say support, they don't necessarily mean physically. They just mean as as an adjunct or in addition to. Is that
Correct. Yes.
okay? I was imagining something different, but that's why we have the people who know what they're doing here to explain this to us.
Sure.
And I don't see any. I guess my only question would be, I haven't really driven out there to know if there's line of sight issues with driveways there. Mr. Bilodeau, are you familiar with the area in question at all?
I'm not. I'm actually down in Southeast Mass right now, so
Okay.
I'm a long way away. But I do know that this pole will be placed in line with the rest of them. As far as adjacent driveways, I can't really speak to that. No.
Okay, I'll have to try to take a ride out there just to take a look before the main meeting. Okay. And again, Mr. Bilodeau, anything else to add?
No, it's pretty straightforward. Common thing we're doing.
Councilor Flood?
Nothing out of the ordinary, like you're saying.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Flood, anything?
No, I think my only concern is just sort of seeing where this lies in terms of line of sight, which I've not had a chance to drive by there and see. So I'll do that before Wednesday as well. But aside from that, I don't see any other concerns.
Okay. Well, no concerns being raised. I will take a motion then to make a recommendation to the full council.
So moved.
Second, any further discussion? Okay, I will take a vote then. Councilor Flood?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Motion passes 2-0 to recommend this poll location to the full council. That will be at a public hearing at 6:15 on Wednesday. I'll send both to Mr. Bilodeau and Mr. Vonner. I had the contact from Verizon. I'll just send them that information. Will that reach both of you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have completed our full agenda. I was actually surprised. I had budgeted much more time for this. Easements and poll locations can sometimes be surprisingly long. Let's see. I have both Bert and David still on the call. Do either of you have any questions or anything to add for Wednesday that we should know when we're presenting this?
Nothing that comes to mind.
No, nothing.
Okay. Okay. Well, if that is the case, then we have completed all our agenda items. Councilor Flood, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
Okay, second. Councilor Flood?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Everyone, thank you so much. We appreciate all the work you're doing with your various companies, and thank you so much for all the great work on the school. And we'll see some or all of you on Wednesday. Have a great night.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Have a good
Everybody,
night.
thank you.
Thank you.